Hello and welcome to Brandon Smith Rugby, and it's time for the big one, the final game of the Six Nations, the rescheduled France against Scotland. Here is my preview, and as a Welshman, it's a very nervy one, but Scotland must not lose by more than a bonus point and 21 points to ensure that Wales win the title. If France manage to do that, France will be champions. I was joined today by Dan from Stuck in the Scrum Facebook group. As always, do check it out. The link is in the description down below. Guess what? Over 80% of you currently watching this video are not subscribed yet. What are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. It's free to do. It helps grow the channel as we push towards 1,500 subscribers. The love on the channel recently has been incredible. I hope you enjoyed this preview. Don't forget, I'll be doing a watch along for this game live on the channel. 7:45 we'll be going live with kickoff at 8 o'clock. Link in the description as well. Enjoy the preview. Look back before we look forward, because I thought it'd be quite interesting to see how these two teams stack up against each other over the past few years. It's actually been quite equal. I mean, the last time you faced each other was in the Autumn Nations Cup. France won that one. But then the two times before that, in a World Cup qualifier and also in the 2020 Six Nations, you actually beat France twice, 28 points to 17 at Murrayfield, and then 17 points to 4 at Murrayfield. Before that, you lost against France out in France, also in a World Cup qualifier. So it's been quite a balanced games between the two sides. But you do feel as if France are certainly the stronger team. But let's talk about Scotland first of all. You beat Italy very, very comfortably, and it's always difficult to judge where you're at when you play the Italians because, unfortunately, they're not competitive in this year's tournament. Where do you say Scotland will be going into this match?
They know how to up their game when they're seen as the underdogs. I mean, what Scotland's main issue is stepping up to the plate when they're expected to win, or at least when they're even favourites. So they've often gone and beaten the likes of England or France when no one's given them a chance in hell. But when it comes to playing teams that they see themselves as equals to, or even the squads sometimes slightly better than, like Ireland or sometimes Wales, they'll end up sort of just rolling over. It's a team that's not used to winning when they're expected to win yet, but it's going to come in time. This France and Scotland game, when they play each other in the Six Nations, historically, it tends to be one of the highest scoring games in the competition.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to look to play attacking rugby, and I think it's certainly going to be a spectacle to watch. Before we look at France, I want to get your thoughts on 5 players being released to the national team from the English clubs. I was quite surprised as well to see that Finn Russell had been released. I mean, it's France playing. He's playing out in France, and yet Racing have decided to release him. I assume that's maybe part of his contract. But are you glad to see those players released, or would you like to see more being released by the clubs?
Well, Finn Russell, definitely. I'm glad that they've released it, especially while the controversy surrounding this game already as it is, with Wafflegate and it being rescheduled. I think there would have been a little bit of backlash if they hadn't released Finn Russell for the game. It would have almost put a dampener on it, even if, especially if France were to go and win the game without Russell being allowed to play. In terms of the Scottish players being released from England and them only being allowed to pick 5 players, I'm not a fan of it personally.
Let's talk about the host and France playing at the start of France. Of course, got a win against Wales. A very tough game to watch, but again, congratulations to France. And the big thing I took from that game, we chatted a little bit before we started recording, was about the way that they kept going, the desire, the motivation, the unity within that squad to keep going and push until the end. Is that something that you think has changed under Galtier and Sean Edwards? Because I think that's a perfect balance. You've got Galtier who wants to play expansive, beautiful rugby, and then Sean Edwards with his Wigan accent, making sure that they are very much listening and very much defending and putting their bodies on the line. They're pretty much the complete package now, aren't they, really?
Yes and no. I mean, they're so strong. No team really has been able to find an answer to their attack yet. The only answer that the only answer that have been given to them is you have to score more points than them. Next season, you might see them bolster their defence a good bit, and then they're going to be a near unstoppable force. And I know that Matt Fagerson's been ruled out of the match now through injury, so I think they've called up Ryan Wilson now instead.
France are lining up. It's an interesting selection that Galtier has done a few changes, and as a Welsh fan, I'm actually fairly encouraged by some of the changes he's made. Let's start with the fullback then. So Bryce Dolan plays at fullback with Damien Penaud, and Ficou moves to the wing. Vincent comes in at centre, and Vakatawa continues there with Dupont, and Untamack comes in at 10. Of course, Jalibert was injured in the game against Wales, so Untamack starts his first game of the tournament. The front row remain the same: Bailly, Marchand and Hawass. Leroux comes in. He's been injured, of course, throughout the tournament. Rabaj, I think that's how you say, is in for Willems, who, of course, got that red and has been banned. Jalonk comes in at 6 for Cretin, with Aldrit remaining at 8 and Olivon at 7. So leaving a bench then Ashat, Gross, Antonio Taufefuena, Cretin, Serran, Boutier, and Teddy Thomas. What's your reaction to that team? A lot of changes there. Some of them are quite interesting. The big one that stands out to me is Ficou on the wing for Teddy Thomas. What's your thoughts on that team?
It's clear that they're going to attack. I mean, the most encouraging part for me is, as a Scotland fan, is looking at their locks. I think the scrum's going to be a really, really interesting battle. I don't see France kicking the ball much at all for goal either. It's going to be a really, really high-scoring game, I think. France are going to want to play fast. They're going to probably want to play crash ball. They're going to hit hard. Scotland, I'm not sure how they're going to go yet. Rather that they're going to go back to the Gregor Townsend style of 2 or 3 years back and try play even faster than the French when they wanted to play the fastest rugby in the world. Or they're really going to try slow the tempo of the game down. They could go both ways. I'm not sure how they're going to go about it yet.
The Scotland team for this one, this is who they have picked. So Stuart Hogg is like captain at 15 with Darcy Graham and Duhan van der Merwe on the wing. Sam Johnson and Chris Harris at 12 and 13. Of course, I think we'll have a chat about Hugh Jones in just a second. Finn Russell at 10 with Ali Price at 9. Rory Sutherland, George Turner and Xander Fagerson in the front row with Sam Skinner and Grant Gilchrist, and then Jamie Ritchie, Hamish Watson and Matt Fagerson. So then a bench of David Chevy, of course, got a brace of tries against the Italians. Nick Haining, Ollie Kebble, Scott Steele, Simon Bergen, Adam Hastings, Alex Craig and Hugh Jones. Your thoughts on that team? I think the big thing for everyone has got to be Hugh Jones on the bench. He had such a good game last week, had a big impact coming off the bench against Ireland. Are you surprised that he's not starting this one?
Sort of, yeah. I think because of mainly Vakatawa that they're going to put on Harris instead, just because he's much more of a defensive centre than Jones is. I do expect Jones to come on almost as an impact sub, probably around the 55th to 60th minute. Once the French legs start to tire, I doubt that they're going to go the full 80 minutes without putting Jones on. So I would expect him to come on near the end. I know that Haining's going to be starting for Fagerson because he's out with some sort of injury that he got in training, and Wilson's going to be starting on the bench for Haining.
Let's then talk about the game itself. Of course, France are going to have to come out, they're going to have to play, they're going to have to throw the ball about. They know they need to get a bonus point and win by plus 20 points. That's going to suit Scotland, isn't it, that open game? Because with the likes of Russell, I think Duhan van der Merwe has been brilliant. I don't think we've seen the best of Darcy Graham yet. So it could be a really exciting game of rugby to watch and probably will suit Scotland.
Yeah, I wrote it down. I think there's 8 different outcomes to this match, depending on what the scores are. But I think that when it comes to slowing the game down in parts of it, Scotland only have to wait for France to lose their patience to try something risky or surrender possession. I think you will see a lot of grubbers, a lot of chip kicks, especially for the likes of Dupont. But at the same time, I think that Darcy Graham, Duhan van der Merwe and Stuart Hogg will be sitting just there, almost anticipating it at any given moment. And if you watched it against Italy or even seen the stats for van der Merwe, this season has been mental. I think he's got something like 30 broken tackles, where the next closest from another team is about 15.
Wow.
I think that's where Scotland are going to go for it. They're going to try frustrate them. I'm going to try and make them give away silly penalties, surrender possession. On the French side, I think they're going to try to do what Ireland did and disrupt Scotland's line out. They're going to try disrupt their scrum. I think Wales were one of the only teams to notice that you can't kick against Scotland. They'll just kick back at you twice as far, or they'll run at you with the likes of Hogg or Doohan. So I expect, especially Vakatawa, to run in some really, really hard lines.
But what are the key battles are they going to be on the pitch?
On the top of my head, I think Olivion versus Hamish Watson is going to be a really good one. Hawes versus Ferguson. I think that's going to be really interesting to watch. And I think almost DuPont and Intimac versus Price and Russell is going to be really, really interesting as well. I think they are the three areas sort of where the game's going to be won or lost.
Our predictions then, so as we said, France need to win this one with a bonus points and ensure that they win by a gap of more than 20 points. My first answer is, do you think they can do it? And then do you have a score prediction that you'd like to put forward?
Personally, I'd like to say no. I don't think they can do it. If they had Italy on the last day, I could see it happening, but I can't see them putting 21 on Scotland. Beating them by 21. It's just a bit too much. Although, if any of the teams were going to implode and let it happen, it would be Scotland. My heart says that Scotland will win it, but my head doesn't. I mean, I'm looking at like France by 5.
The big thing in the game for me is that Scotland need to play in the right areas of the pitch. Against Ireland, you really didn't do that enough. The territory game was really poor. And I thought Sexton actually kicked very well in that game against you. But for this one, I am going to back France to do it. I'm going to back France by 7 to 10 points. I think they're just... I think their quality is going to be enough. I don't see a way of them doing it, but I could even see Scotland winning this because, as you said, France and depression. That's why I actually backed Wales to beat France last week, because every player who started for Wales had won a Grand Slam, bar Louis Rees-Zammit, and he's been in incredible form. So Wales had the know-how of how to do it. And I don't know if this France squad completely has the know-how of how to win huge matches. I know they did last week, but 2 yellow cards makes it a lot easier, and really maybe Wales should have won on the day. Tell us a little bit once again about Stuck in the Scrum. It's a brilliant Facebook group. I'm part of it. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's really a place for everyone that loves rugby, whether it be the internationals or the club stuff. We've actually got a lot going on at it at the moment. So right now I'm working with some of the English admins to go down what we think England should do to change up the team, what went wrong with them, and who you would call up, who you would release in your opinion. I'm not going to touch if Eddie Jones should keep his job or not. I don't think that's my place. Coming up soon, we are going to be doing a deep dive on all of the Six Nations teams to see who's done better than expected, who's done about okay-ish, and who's underperformed, and why. And we are also doing a sort of a Lions 36 that we're going to go through and pick. But instead of basing it on reputation, I'm going through all their international stats.
Absolutely. I'll leave a link down below, guys. Do check it out. We're going to be doing some more videos and some more things together over the coming months. We've got some exciting plans, and very excited to bring that content. But that's going to wrap up our preview. It's a massive game. Very, very nervous as a Wales fan. I will be Scottish for the day. Already on the Iron Brew, already on the haggis. I'll probably wear a kilt as well. So it's going to be very, very nervy. But make sure that you are subscribed and like the preview as well. And we'll see you soon.